So hello and welcome, I'm Frederick Dunn, and today it's wintertime and we're going to start to grow something called Irish moss. The actual name of it is Sagina subulata. So it comes in these little packets, and a lot of people complained when they saw the packets that it looked like they got some dirt in the mail, and then they gave it a 1-star review and moved on. That is the actual seeds. They're tiny. And so to put them on your substrate, I put them on a little piece of card here, and I folded the tip like a paper airplane. And then we're going to shake it around, and we're going to sprinkle it onto some Miracle-Gro potting mix. I'm also going to show you a comparison between two different LED-style grow lights during the sequences. And we're going to see that one works much better than the other. But look at this micro tip ink pen. And you can just see how tiny these seeds are. So you're going to have to come up with a method to spread them around. But I can tell you ahead of time, they grow. It works. The whole seed pack, 10,000 seeds, only costs you $9.99 from Amazon. You can also get this Miracle-Gro potting mix. This is moisture control potting mix. I don't think that was necessary. Could have got the regular Miracle-Gro indoor-outdoor potting mix. So we're going to get started. What am I doing? I'm putting it on lunchroom trays. So I put the potting mix out here because I thought, you know what? I saw some other videos and they said Irish moss doesn't have very deep roots. And here we are, 12 days later after spraying it with water, and they're germinating already. So they actually do grow. They do work, but you're going to have keen eyes to see them, because look how tiny these little sprouts are. And to get them here, I had to, of course, put them under grow lights. They're being started indoors. And I spritzed them. Anytime they looked like they were drying out, I added fresh water. Not tap water, fresh water from my fish tank. And so here they are under grow lights. These are the clip style lights. These are 100 watts a piece. And I also started another batch at exactly the same time in this biodome. So in the biodome in 4-inch grow cups, and then of course out here on the trays. They germinated at exactly the same time, but that's when they departed, because the ones that are under the biodome in the pots grew much faster. So once they germinated, we could check them out, and that's also, by the way, when you take that dome off. Once you see green, go ahead and take the cover off, and they need access to fresh air. Otherwise, they could dampen off, and other things that are bad for them could happen. So I'm going to take you through this. In fact, this video took me 2 months to make. I want to show you everything that they do and how I managed it. So growing them on your own is definitely a huge advantage, because remember, for $9 we can grow up to 10,000 of them. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm doing about, 80 or 90. And if you look at it from a distance, you have to kind of carefully scan the dirt to see little touches of green growing here. And in the biodome, of course, that was really evident, and it keeps things moist, so I didn't have to spray them very often. I do have fans here, but they were off until things started germinating. So now we're here in the pots, and these are watered from underneath. So I just filled the reservoir. I did not spray the tops here. And look, you can see some tiny green seedlings started there. So that's an exciting time. And again, as I mentioned before, take the cover off once you see that that's happened. Indoor temps, look to the right there, 60.8 degrees. Although directly under the lights, you could add about 5 or 6 degrees to that. And we're well within the germination recommended temperature for these things. So here they are, just like tiny carpet starting up there. And they grew really well. So for those that were saying those seeds were no good at all, I can tell you they are good. In fact, I went back and ordered another packet because I'm going to keep growing these things. Today, by the way, is December the 23rd, and what you're looking at here was starting in October. What's that? Well, that is when things dried out in the tray, and I had to spray it, soak it down again, and the recovery rate was actually pretty darn good. So you don't lose them when they dry out and start to wilt over, but you have to keep some moisture going. People that said that the roots don't run very deep, I think they were off a little bit, because these pots are 4 inches. And let me tell you what. The roots in these pots here were growing all the way through the bottom already. So the roots run deep, 4 inches. Why am I knocking these around and everything? Because a pest showed up. Guess what they're called? Fungus gnats. Why are they there? Because there's fungus. Look, there's one of them right here on the floor, skittering around. Fungus gnats aren't bad. They're annoying. They freak people out because you see a little bug running around. And you don't want them on your plants, but you know what? When they're going through their pupa phase and they're in their larval state, they actually eat rotting roots and things like that. So I don't know if that's bad, but I'm going to show you how to trap a few. And this one's on the floor, so I thought I would give you a close-up so you can see what we're really talking about. They're not white flies, they're not fruit flies, and they're not regular flies. And look, there's a whole pile of them here. Why are they collected like that? Well, because pretty soon what you're going to see here is what eats them when they scoot along around the corners, and then we end up with a bunch of them that are desiccated. What kind of animal do you think would desiccate them? That's right, a spider. In this case, these are called cellar spiders. They are 100% harmless. Fantastic to show to your grandkids, though. So I guess these little fungus gnats zip around. They go everywhere, and as they get to the end of their life, because they don't live forever, they end up running around instead of flying. And then they're going to end up in this little web here. And they're going to be munched by a spider, and then they're going to be discarded on the floor. And then you're going to come back later, and you're going to invite your grandchildren to sweep them up and clean them while they learn about it. And just to give you a sense of scale, what's all the way to the right there, all dried out, is a normal-sized housefly. So even the cellar spider was eating the housefly. So I thought it would be great to get a sequence and show you this neat spider actually catching one of these little fungus gnats, but it never did. So I won't waste the whole video on that, but I wanted you to see it just in case you come across them. You'll understand cause and effect. If you're spraying your plants and keeping them damp, you're providing a perfect habitat for fungus gnats to grow. Where do they come from? I don't know, because remember, the seeds came in a little packet, and then we had that Miracle Grow potting mix that should have been sterile. There shouldn't be anything in it. So maybe these things are flying around your house in winter anyway, just looking for a place to reproduce. Not the cellar spider, the gnats themselves. So there we are, dead gnats, dead fly, lots of dead stuff. We're going to move on. So here we are back at the pots. Look at the growth rate. These things are fantastic. And here's what I got excited about. We're looking at the tips of them, and it looks like they're about to flower. It didn't occur to me that in less than 2 months, these things would not only grow and get really deep roots, 4 inches long or better, but they would actually start to produce flowers on the tops. So that gave me an opportunity to do some macro photography to see what the details of the flowers are. But I can tell you ahead of time, because you might be sitting here wondering, the things on the flats, if you're going to put dirt on trays and just grow it from that, you want your trays to be at least 4 inches deep. That's my recommendation. And then you want to have really good lighting. This is a Sansi, S-A-N-S-I, grow light. And the other lights that are down below are also rated at 100 watts a piece. The single Sansi unit was 200 watts, and not only did it cause this fantastic growth, but it got them to flower soon. And then I looked it up. What does it take to pollinate one of these flowers on Irish moss? Well, it says insect pollination. And then I thought, well, I don't have any insects to pollinate it right now because it's inside. The plan is to move these outside and plant them all around my honeybee drinking fountain station, so maybe they'll pollinate them later. I did go around with little paint brushes and touch on those flowers to see what would happen. I also looked up some university studies and found out how they find out what the pests are, and they use these sticky cards. So I hung a bunch of sticky cards around my Irish moss, and then what did I collect? Of course, fungus gnats. So I learned about fungus gnats because I was growing Irish moss. If I hadn't done this experiment, I wouldn't have them. So this is a mechanical method of collecting them, so chemical free, and you can supposedly catch a whole bunch of them, but I would have been well ahead if I had not watered them from the top and if I had not kept these trays super moist. So one of the fixes that I'm going to want to do, of course I'm just demonstrating that you have to peel the covers off, hang them up, because people complained they didn't know how to get the sticky protective covers off, and then they give them a 1 star for that because they couldn't get them off. They come off easy, and then the flies come over, and gnats, and they stick right to them, And even while you're sitting there watching, they fly up and out of your Irish moss and zip right over and land on these yellow cards. And they're stuck there until they pass away. So, and then it gives you a chance to really look at them. So if you're trying to learn about gnats, you want to see what they're doing. Their life expectancy is pretty good. Their reproduction is pretty high, by the way. So if you collect all of these gnats and you leave one or two behind, one or two gnats can reproduce 600, 400, 900, depending on who you ask, eggs. And then they will reproduce again in the damp soil. So I'm going to get rid of these trays because I realize that all I'm doing is growing gnats there. Pots are better. So I also put them by the windows just to see if they scoot along and cover any distance away from my grow trays, and they certainly do. These little gnats fly everywhere. So here we can see the growth comparison. Now, number one is the fact that the dirt is shallow, so the roots are limited. The other thing is the quality of light over the top of the tray. This is the top tray that's got the Sansi 200 watt light. Definitely fantastic growth, and they flowered right away. And I can tell you as of December the 23rd that the Irish moss underneath the other lights still has not even begun to show signs of flowering. So it's behind in every way. See these? It looks like they're just starting out. Nope, they were planted at the exact same time. It's just different lighting and on a shallow tray. And you might notice these little semi-translucent worms down there. What are those? And you can see there's a little fungus gnat right there. Those are the larvae of the fungus gnats. I'm going to give you a close-up here because I want you to see exactly what you're dealing with. There they are. Look at that. What are they doing? They're munching away on dead wood, dead twigs, and things that come included in your Miracle-Gro potting mix. Look at this one right here, just munching away. Now, if they were attacking my live plants and eating the greenery, I might be a little upset, but this is just a great learning opportunity. And when we shift these things into pots, which I'm going to do here really soon, we're going to say goodbye to those fungus gnats. And of course, I got my wife's cake decorating froster knife. And I'm going to scoop out and I'm going to transfer everything from the trays into these little 4-inch plastic pots, which you can also get on Amazon. Everything that I'm showing you in this video is available on Amazon. I don't know about the frosting spreader though. So I try to do this one-handed, but of course I'm holding my camera and I'm trying to do that. You know, you just push it off the knife with your finger. And then you end up with a whole bunch of pots with a bunch of Irish moss on them. And if you go out shopping and you want to buy pots or little collections of Irish moss already started, it runs into a lot of money in a very short amount of time. So I highly recommend growing them yourself because the investment, the stuff that we buy here to get these things going, the lights, even the substrate, you're going to transplant that, of course, the potting soil mix, which is it's very inexpensive. You get a 2-pack of Miracle-Gro potting mix for $19. That's 2 big bags, and I didn't even use one of the bags to fill all these pots. So I transferred them, but look at how leggy they are. So in other words, the ones that grew under the weaker lights were less bushy, less dense. They grew taller. They're trying to reach light, and that's what they're doing. And you can even see the fungus gnats scooting around on here while I'm making the transfer. So once I move them to the pots, we're going to get ahead of the gnats because I'm going to water from underneath after I squirt the top to make sure there's good contact with the roots and the new substrate that they've been set on. So I put them right in the kitchen sink, right on these trays. Nothing but pure fresh water. And again, instead of feed or nutrients that you buy from the store, I just get them from my aquarium. So that's where I get the water, and that's it. So water, potting soil, and good light. That's about it. And of course the fans, we can't forget the fans. But I soaked it like this just once, and that's because it was the time that I did the transfer. So there again, the biodome at the top with the dome removed. Look at the growth there. And just remember when you're looking at this rack system that all of these plants were seeded and planted at exactly the same time. And I'm just showing you again the sticky cards. One of the reasons people that own greenhouses put up sticky cards is to see what kind of pests are flying around in the first place. So look how tall they are too, by the way. I also read that Irish Moss Sagina here is only about 2 inches. but this is well beyond 2 inches. It is really dense, really thick, and it's going to be very easy to transplant. Now that's the other thing, when you transplant them outside, they can handle hardiness zone 4, so they can take really cold weather, which is fantastic because I live in the snow belt. They also like to be in good lighting, so full shade is not good for these. It's not really a moss, it's something else. So it needs lots of sunlight, and it's going to be fantastic because this is what I want to grow underneath and around my beehives, and you can trim it down and it causes it to get more dense, so I'm told. And there again, we're looking at the lighting that I use. Sansi 200 watt light there at the top. That is my #1 pick. It absolutely outperformed the other lights. So it's not just the fact that I put the soil in pots to start them, or that I started them in this biodome, but it was the quality of light, because the growth down here, remember, planted exactly the same time, no signs of flowering yet. The density is far reduced. They're very leggy. They're reaching out for lighting. These are 100 watt lights each. They're kind of cool because they do have adjustments. They're on timers. I have them all set for 12 hours of illumination. And of course, the Sansi light at the top also only provided 12 hours of illumination. And we keep the fans blowing on them. And when I turn these fans off, what flies out of the plants right away? You guessed it, fungus gnats. So, feeding from the bottom though, watering from the bottom, we're going to get rid of the fungus gnats. I'm going to take care of that. These are close-ups of the flowers. How cool are those? They have little pollen, it looks like, and they've also got nectar. So if only I had something to test that on, but all my bees are outside in the apiary and they are buttoned up for winter because we were down in the sub-zero temperatures in recent days. So, you want to break up your winter? Grow some Irish moss, Sagina, Subulata. If you want to see what any of these items that are shown here today cost and where to get them, please look down in the video description and you'll see every item I use to grow these listed below. Supposedly it should be a really easy transplant. You want to put them where the soil is deep, where they don't get completely soggy all the time, or where they don't completely dry out. These are just some close-ups of the different stages of growth and development that I took here. And I'm very satisfied with the lighting, the conditions, the seeds, and where we're headed with Irish moss for the spring of 2025. Catch up with me later and I'll show you what they look like once we put them outside. Thanks a lot for joining me today.